But by the way, you can't answer the PISA questions from rote learning. The questions are actually better than that, if you like. And it's also a mistake to think, the Korean kids only do well because they go to after-school classes and they learn to do stuff by rote. You know, it's easy to say that, but that's not true. The Korean kids do well at the problem-solving parts. So it's not a result of their engagement with things, it's something else. And so we have to think about that. Okay. Now, I'd sort of vaguely forgotten that you were all secondaries, and so this is really a primary. This is actually a really young primary, but just to make the point that what I'm talking about applies to everything. Okay, can you compare these two tasks? Count the number of letters in the word maths. That's task 1. Task 2, what is in their room? What is there in this room that there's exactly 5 of? Can we just actually quickly brainstorm that? You know, I realise this is the sort of thing I'd do with 5 and 6-year-olds. I have done with 5 and 6. What is there in this room that there's 5 of? Yeah, curtains along that wall. Okay, what else? Whew, beautiful. Okay, so there's 5 buttons on each side of the little unit up there. Oh, there's 5 plates lined up for lunch. There's 5 plants. What else is there? 5 symbols on that wall. Oh yeah, which the NMIT and one more, yep. And by the way, in a class, what we'd say, oh, can you go and point to them and we'll count them together? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. All right, but my real question now is, how is the second question different? Yeah, so there's a different thing happens in the class. You get a whole lot different math. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. What else is different? So the first one only has one answer. The second one has a whole range of answers. Possibly in most classrooms enough for everyone to have their own answer. Yeah. So there's a lot more counting goes on because, you know, let's say, well, is there 5 people at this table? No, there's not. Is there 5 people at this table? No. 5 people at this table? Is there 5 people at this table? Oh, yes, there is. So there's a lot more counting has to go on before we come up with an answer. More discussion? That you have to actually talk about the numbers? What else is different? So using images, yep, to do that. What else?
More meaning attached. Probably this is a little bit simple, but I mean, what does 5 or something mean? Or
yeah. But it's also, this comment was more meaning attached, but what is common between the 5 people at this table and the 5 symbols on the wall over there? You know, there's something in common, meaning there's 5 of them. And that's a really powerful idea that we want to get kids, that 5-ness is a really powerful concept for the kids to get. Okay, so, let's say, I'd forgotten you guys were secondary, but you probably sort of see the point. Okay. So to answer the second question, students need to scale the room, need to count the objects one to one and make decisions and explain thinking. So that's what it said. Okay. I want to talk about, and the point of doing this now is for what we talked about last week and we've talked about a bit now. Okay, how do we, in a class like that, we know that in our prep class, there's a bunch of kids who come to school knowing how to count to 20. And there's, well, more or less everyone can count to 10. They can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. But they can't necessarily count objects. So even within your prep class, we've got a huge range. Okay, how are we going to deal with this range? By the way, what I just said is a perfectly reasonable class with a prep class. Works perfectly well, the kids behave themselves, except you've got some kids who are going to find it difficult and some kids for whom it's too easy. Okay, now there's actually a model of teaching that I worked on with some colleagues, and I just want to talk about these two things here. This part, enabling prompts and extending prompts. And what it means is, the enabling prompts is, what might we do for the kids who find that task too difficult? What is there in the room it's 5 of? And what might we do for the kids for whom it's too easy, to extend them a little bit? And so can I just give you some examples? Like, we might say, for kids who find it too difficult, we might say, well, okay, how many windows are there? Or go and find me 5 things and bring them back. So in a sense, slightly easier questions, but still based on the 5, and possibly even allowing this kid to report back with the others when they're giving their answers. So that in a sense, it's a prompt that's easier than the first question, but still more or less in the ballpark, and the kid will still feel part of the lesson. Now for the extending prompt, you might say, okay, go and find some other answers. You've got one thing, but what are some other ones? Well, what questions about our class would have the answer 5? So what questions about us would have the answer 5? Just to give you see, it looks like an advanced group. Now I'm guessing the number of Carlton supporters. Do you think I'm right? Hands up if you're a Carlton supporter. Really? Oh, just one. What about number of Hawthorn supporters? Oh, all right, okay. Number of Essendon supporters? Number of Richmond supporters? Oh, okay, number of Melbourne supporters? Okay, all right, that's funny. Actually, apart from Collingwood, everyone else is spread out. Anyway, we can work out the answer. But the point is, you actually can see something where, okay, that would extend these kids a little bit. And when they report back, when the class is finished, we can actually use their report also as part of what we're talking about. So what I'm talking about is a thinking strategy. And I'm going to ask you this a number of times between now and the end of the day. You know, for this task, what might be an enabling prompt and what might be an extending prompt? Because I'm actually going to argue, by the way, that when you plan your lessons, you should plan them. Because it's going to happen. If your lesson is set at the right level, then you should be ready to do it. Now, by the way, I am going to give you an example of a lesson that I see as self-contained, where you don't need to do this. In a sense, the lesson itself contains the enabling prompts and the extending prompts. I'm going to give you an example of that, but that's not what we're talking about at the moment. Okay, I want to teach you a game. In fact, we've done it before, so you remember that Race to 10 game? Okay, I want to teach you a different game. This game's called Race to 5x plus 5y. And when it's your turn, you can add x, or you can add y, or you can add x plus y. So can you play that game now, please? Can I just make the point to you? Again, this is the sort of thing you can just do for 5 minutes at the start of the lesson. But it's really powerful for helping kids to see that you add x's to x's and y's to y's, and that's the way it works. So it's a powerful game, just another way of thinking about it, sort of visual, like mental sort of strategy thing. It's fine. Okay. Here's my question. So this is a game that's perfectly appropriate for Year 8. Probably even appropriate for Year 7 for that matter, but it's perfectly appropriate for Year 8. But there's going to be some kids who don't know how to play in Year 8. You know, class of 22 Year 8 kids, let's say there's going to be 2 or 3 kids. What? What are you talking about? But there's also going to be 2 or 3 kids that just on top of it, right like that. Okay, can you talk? So I'll ask it this way: what are the enabling prompts? What are the extending prompts? Or more accurately, what might you do to make the weak kids get engaged and feel included? Question 1. And question 2, what might you do to really challenge the good kids who are right on top of it straight away? So assuming this game is right for most of your class. You know, for 15 out of the 22, it's the right game. They're ready for it. They can play it. It's hard enough, not too hard, so on. Okay, can you talk about those 2 questions at your table, please?